Hi, I'm Libby Gibson, Town Manager. Welcome to What's Going On in Town Government. We've had a pretty busy week with town meeting wrapping up on Saturday, happening and wrapping up on Saturday. And then right back into things on Monday. We had a longer than I thought it was going to be selectmen's meeting yesterday on Wednesday. And among the several things that the board did,
we should go through.
At the very beginning, they gave certificates of appreciation to the two departing board members, Bobby DaCosta and Rick Atherton, and someone's wife came to the meeting as well with a beautiful big box of cookies for those two to share. Cannot eat in that room, so we couldn't eat them right then. And crowns, special crowns for them. And so that was very nice. And we introduced our new DPW director, Rob McNeil. He started this past Monday, and he's been very busy. I just got a phone call from him. And so we're going to see him at meetings.
And he'll be going for a drive around with me soon.
He's going to go for a drive around with you soon. That'll be good. He's going to go drive around with me tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm going to show him all my pet peeves.
Ah.
It's going to take, this is day one. This is only phase
one. What are some
one.
of those pet peeves?
Well, let's see here. Gino, I don't even know
Am
where
I
to
really
begin.
putting you on the spot?
Well,
there must be
okay,
at least one.
there's a couple that just need to be fixed. On Union Street, where we widened to the intersection at Union and Francis, if you're heading out of town and you go alongside the Basket Museum, there's a concrete kind of a curb that never got removed when we redid the intersection, and I don't know why it's there. It doesn't seem to serve a purpose to me. There's a couple of areas around town, I won't name names, but they're always wet in the roadway, and some of these roads are new, and there's these wet areas, which says to me that somebody's sump pump is going out into the road, and it shouldn't be. Stuff like that.
Oh.
There's some curbing issues on Milk Street, for example, right near Vestal, near the Mariah Mitchell kind of. There's a very, very large tree in the sidewalk, and the roots have pushed the curb out, so it sticks out into the road. And these are not easy things to resolve in 5 minutes, but that's the tip of the iceberg.
Potholes don't bother you?
Oh, potholes do bother me.
People are thinking about them every spring.
They are, but the DPW's got this new hot asphalt recycling machine that we went out and got a demo of it a couple weeks ago. And they're out and about using it to fill in the potholes. And it's a permanent patch, not a cold mix patch, which, disintegrates in a day sometimes, depending on the weather. But this is going to be really good. All right, so we also had a public hearing for a new liquor license on Straight Wharf called Ack Shack. This is in the building next to the Macy warehouse that used to, I think it most recently housed Town Pool, possibly.
Yep.
It's been a shop. And this was a bit problematic for the board. It sounded like there was going to be ice cream and fun family things, but also the service of alcohol outside. And some limited entertainment, it sounded like. It didn't sound like anything too crazy. However, in the end, it turned out that the applicant applied evidently for the wrong type of license. He wanted an all-alcoholic liquor license, but what he applied for was something called a cordials liquor license, which is not all-alcoholic. So
that's just beer and wine.
It's beer and wine and cordials, like whatever that is, like an after dinner thing,
I guess.
But not
Okay.
a martini,
right.
Not a
rum and coke,
right. Things like that. So it wasn't advertised like that, all alcoholic. So he's going to have to reapply. But the board had some concerns about it that were starting to be expressed, and then we realized he'd applied for the wrong thing. So that's probably going to come back. We also had some extensive discussion about our island home and the vote at town meeting, which the votes were not to approve any of the island home articles. In fact, I think a couple were actually withdrawn by the board once we saw what had happened with the first couple. So we were talking about what are we going to do next? And there was a range of issues discussed. And I think most immediately what's going to happen is we're going to reconvene our building committee and refocus them perhaps to look at the current facility, not necessarily to build a new one, but to see what improvements we can do to maybe try to bring things up to code and improve the conditions there. So maybe, for example, we could expand the garage or resituate the garage so that it could be more of a storage facility, so we can get some of the stuff that's in the hallways out. That can be tricky though, because some of these things that are in the hallways now need to be in close storage, maybe not a little distance away in a garage, but this can probably, hopefully be figured out. There are some other capital improvements that need to be done there, which needed to be done regardless. So those are going to get work done.
All right, well, I was there, and over half the people voted against moving it.
Right.
And I think most of those people want it built there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I
well,
mean,
but that
what
wasn't.
Are we gonna do about that?
Well, that was not the vote. There wasn't
right, I understand
an
that.
article to do that, and that may be another thing that we continue to look at. But I don't think the selectmen are prepared at this point anyway to spend extensive amounts of money to develop a plan to rebuild a facility at that site, because there are so many challenges, and it is going. We've never said it can't be done. It can be done, but there are many, many challenges to overcome, not the least of which is timing, disruption, and cost.
All right.
So
if those folks that are expecting to see that built there, what would be the next step that, as a town, we would have to do?
That's a good question. I guess they'll have to really think about that, because the selectmen are, at least right now, we have an election coming up, are not, as far as I could tell, prepared to put forward any kind of a big appropriation article to construct a new facility at the site. I think they are prepared to do whatever we can to improve the current facility.
Someone would have to put an article.
I guess somebody could certainly put in a citizens warrant article, but without, plans and concepts and, we looked at the current site, but it's not just the construction costs, it's the operational costs. And, we have a financial analysis of what the operational costs will be at the current site, at the Maya Comet site, with a new building at the current site, with the current building in place. I mean, there was a lot of work done already.
But the work group that did the work, I think they kind of were thinking in the back of their mind that there was a plan. They have some sort of an idea on how to make this thing work, right?
Well, I don't know if they have an idea about how to make it work. They just want it to work.
Right. It's going to be expensive. We know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure people realize just how expensive. I don't know if we realize, all of us realize just how expensive. But I think what we do know, it is going to be substantially more expensive, simply factual things. In order to build a new facility at a site where there is a current operating facility, you have to do things that you wouldn't have to do at a site with no facility already on it, So, anyway, so I think there's going to be more public discussion about it, and we'll certainly be looking at ways in which to improve the current building now. We do have some capital funds that were approved at this town meeting for improvements to the building, and I'm sure we will have more in the next fiscal year as well, the fiscal 19, that is.
Do you, not to just keep staying on this issue, but does it make sense for us to start to think about making it private? Or would anybody even be interested in that?
No one in their right mind would be interested in that. It is not a money-making facility. And we've said this many, many times. There seems to be some notion out there that the town is trying to privatize it. No one will take it. It's not set up to make money. That's why the town is running.
Why not put it on Craigslist?
The only value it has right now is the land, the property. And The selectmen, again, have said they have no intention of putting forward any kind of a proposal to sell it to a private developer, even though that somehow came up last night from an audience member, that might be something to look at. And we were a little perplexed by that, because when one of the board members threw that out there as a potential option, the board was lambasted, I think the word was that was used last night. So, you know, there's, it's a sensitive issue, it's an emotional issue, and at this point, I think no one in town government is saying we're not going to run the Island Home anymore. I'll speak for myself. I think it's a very valuable community asset just in terms of having that operation, because without it, Island people are it's going to be very, very difficult, and that's why the town runs it, because no one else will run it. So I think there's going to be a lot more discussion about this in the coming months. Those were our big things at the meeting last night. Next week, it's typically a kind of a light meeting. The meeting right after the election. The election's on Tuesday, BOS Wednesday. And right now, I'm going to be taking the board through some follow-up from the town meeting. I usually do a kind of a chart that just goes through who's going to be doing what next as a result. And so we'll just go through that. And I think we have a couple of announcements. And there may be some liquor. There might be a public hearing or two, but I don't have a final agenda right at this point. And in the morning at 10 o'clock, the selectmen will convene to get the new members sworn in, and I think they may elect officers at that meeting.
And did Jim say he's not going to be
Jim
interested?
did, yes. Chairman Kelly said he is not intending to seek re-election as the chair, and he staked out his seat already.
Wow.
Yeah,
so that leaves Dawn?
Dawn
Maybe
is
Dawn
a viable option, I would say.
Let's have Dawn do it.
It's up to the board, Gino, not me and you. So we'll see about that. In other news of town government, I'm going to make a little announcement here. A little portion of Federal Street and Broad Street are being repaved in the next week or so, and some milling work and prep work was being done this week. And we had came to our attention that there was a little bit of chatter out there about why the town would be paving streets that seemed to be in fairly good shape, and why wouldn't they pave other streets that aren't in as good shape. And the answer to that is that these streets that we're talking about are how can I say this? They are part of a project that ended 4 years ago, a sewer rehab project, in which there was a base coat of paving place, because these streets were all torn up for that. And the final coat was never laid because we knew at the time that there was a lot of work that was going to be happening on Broad Street with new construction, and there was going to be heavy equipment and sewer connections. So we decided we would wait until all that work was done and then do the base coat. Can you imagine what would have happened if we had done the base coat and then the cuts and heavy equipment went on there? What would be the chatter then? So
this is not costing.
It's part of an existing project that has an appropriation attached to it.
Right.
So, and there is spring paving in other areas going on, and I think DPW is putting together a list right now of what roads are going to be on there coming up. So that's that. First Way is a sewer improvement and road paving project that's going to be happening shortly. Sewer, I think, is going to try to get done during school vacation week, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to have an announcement about it at next week's meeting. And then First Way ultimately is going to be paved. I don't have a schedule on that yet. So, and it's going to have a bike path alongside of it. Yes, that will be very good.
Everything okay at the school?
I think so.
On schedule?
As far as I can tell, it's on schedule. I talked to the superintendent yesterday. He goes over there a lot to check things out, and sounded like it's coming along. I should probably go get a little tour of it. I went through there like maybe in, when did I go there? November, December? It was a while ago. And it's so much farther along now.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
They're
so.
gonna be ready for this year, right? I mean, we'll
Fall.
be ready to go for the
Yep.
fall.
And, interesting fact, the new principal for the intermediate school, the new school building, is the wife of the new DPW director.
Interesting.
Yes, you could maybe do a twofer and take them both for a drive around.
Absolutely.
She won't start until July or August.
Okay,
but,
well, that would be great.
Yeah. What else are you hearing, Gino?
I guess we just gotta make sure everybody gets out and votes.
Yes,
Okay.
vote. Next Tuesday, the 11th, polls are open from 7
I guess it's.
to 8?
Yep,
Or is it 8 to 8?
Yeah.
I think it's 7 to 8. Double check that.
all right.
But anyway, yeah. I try to find a back way in. I try to vote later in the day, and I don't like to pass the gauntlet
I see,
candidates. And,
I see. You go in the back way.
you know, you wave at one person, then you have to wave at all of them.
Of course.
So I try to go in a back way without being seen.
Yeah,
So it's not easy though. They got like every entrance covered.
sure they do.
I guess I could park down by Stop and Shop and walk through. It's a bit much though.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to that much effort. Okay. Thanks very much. See you next time.